I just was a young girl who started singing and loved her as part of the women that I loved in show business. Everything that I sing about, I pick all my songs. Everything that I sing about is about something that I have experienced.
When they weren't doing music, that's when the drama came in.
Right.
But other than that, it was all fun. It was really a good way. I feel I wouldn't take anything back, you know.
Etta James, the legendary voice behind At Last, was a powerhouse who could command any stage. But what happened in those final, heartbreaking years? How did a woman who once ruled the world with her voice end up battling so much pain and regret? Just 5 days before what would have been her 74th birthday, Etta's story came to a tragic end.
When they weren't doing music, that's when the drama came in.
Right.
But other than that, it was all fun. It was really a good way. I feel I wouldn't take anything back, you know.
What were her final moments really like? And what hidden struggles did she face as she neared the end? Stick around, because we're about to dive deep into the untold story of Etta James' last hours. Etta James, born on January 25, 1938, in the bustling city of Los Angeles, California, came into a world filled with chaos and uncertainty. Her early years were shaped by the instability of her upbringing, largely due to her mother, Dorothy Hawkins, who was just 14 years old when she gave birth to Etta. Dorothy was thrust into motherhood before she was ready, facing hardships that would leave a lasting impact on her daughter's life. Dorothy's own struggles were not just limited to being a young single mother. She was also a victim of forced sterilization, a horrifying experience that added even more trauma to her already difficult life. This dark chapter in Dorothy's life seemed to set the stage for the challenges that Etta would face growing up. Dorothy found it difficult to manage the responsibilities of being a mother, leading her to repeatedly leave Etta in the care of others. This created a pattern in Etta's childhood where she was constantly being handed off to different caretakers, never really having a stable home or a consistent maternal figure. Etta's relationship with her mother was complicated, to say the least. Dorothy would come and go, often disappearing for long periods, leaving Etta alone and scared. This earned Dorothy the nickname the Mystery Lady in Etta's memories, a haunting presence who was never fully there when Etta needed her. In her memoir, Rage to Survive, Etta described her mother as a crazy nightmare, a phrase that perfectly encapsulates the emotional turmoil she experienced growing up. Dorothy's sporadic appearances were bittersweet, bringing hope, but inevitably leading to more heartbreak as she would soon vanish again. Imagine being a young child, left alone in a dark, shabby room, hungry and afraid, not knowing if your mother would ever come back. That was Etta's reality. In her autobiography, she recalled those terrifying moments. Start crying, hungry and afraid that Dorothy would never come back, that no one would ever find me in this god-awful furnished room. The fear and loneliness she felt during those times left deep scars on her psyche, scars that would take years to even begin to heal. The cycle of neglect and abandonment took a toll on Etta's emotional well-being, leading her to struggle with feelings of worthlessness and despair as she grew older. These early experiences played a significant role in shaping who she became, both as a person and as an artist. Etta eventually sought therapy later in life, trying to confront and make sense of the profound wounds left by her chaotic childhood. It was a long, painful journey, but it also helped her understand herself better. Interestingly, Etta believed that these very struggles might have been the reason she found her voice. She once reflected, "And so she did the best for me, because if she had tried to take me with her, she was just a child. What would she have done with me? Would I have been singing today? Would I have been anything, you know?" It's as if the pain and uncertainty of her early years fueled her music, giving her the raw, soulful edge that made her an icon. During the times when Dorothy Hawkins was out of Etta James's life, Etta stayed with various caregivers, including her aunt and different foster parents. Among these caregivers, the most impactful were Lula and Jesse Rogers, whom Etta called Mama Lou and Sarge. While she cherished Mama Lou, her experience with Sarge was deeply troubling and marred by frequent physical abuse. Etta's time with Sarge was marked by fear and trauma. According to her memoir, Rage to Survive, When Etta was around 5 years old, Sarge would often come home drunk and demand that she perform for his friends. His requests were not made with kindness. If Etta refused or faltered, he would punish her severely. One of his methods of punishment involved beating her with a razor strap, a brutal and painful experience that left her feeling both physically and emotionally scarred. Etta vividly remembered these episodes, recounting how she would stand there, sleepy, humiliated, mad enough to spit, wearing piss-stained pajamas with buttons on the back and feet on the bottom, singing a song she loathed while enduring his cruelty. The experience was not just humiliating, but also deeply damaging, leading her to develop a strong aversion to encores later in her career. Sarge's abuse was not just physical. It extended to emotional and psychological torment. His heavy-handed approach to Etta's singing was driven by his own needs rather than her well-being. As Etta's singing talent began to gain attention, Sarge attempted to insert himself into every aspect of her career. He was eager to manage her burgeoning talent, exerting control over her musical education and public performances. His interference was not a benign act of support, but a power play that exacerbated Etta's trauma. When Etta was 10 years old, Sarge made the decision to pull her out of St. Paul Baptist Church, where she had been receiving her early singing training. This move was motivated by his desire to control Etta's career, rather than any concern for her education or personal development. The abrupt withdrawal from St. Paul was a significant blow to Etta, who had found a degree of solace and purpose in her singing lessons there. The church was more than just a place for her to hone her craft. It was a sanctuary where she could escape the turmoil at home. Sarge's action left Etta heartbroken and devastated, plunging her into a deep depression. The emotional impact of Sarge's abusive behavior was profound. Etta's early years were characterized by a constant struggle for stability and safety, which was repeatedly undermined by Sarge's brutality and control. The physical and emotional scars from this period of her life would shape her in ways that extended beyond her childhood. They influenced her outlook on life, her music, and her relationships, contributing to the complex, multifaceted persona that she would come to embody as an adult. Despite the trauma, Etta's resilience shone through her music, transforming her pain into powerful performances that captivated audiences around the world. In the 1950s, Etta began listening to doo-wop and was inspired to form a girl group, the Creolettes. At the tender age of 14, the trajectory of her life took a defining turn when she crossed paths with the legendary musician Johnny Otis. The accounts of their initial meeting vary, weaving a tapestry of intrigue around the genesis of a career that would leave an indelible mark on the world of rhythm and blues. In one rendition of the story, Otis recalls a night when a 14-year-old Jamasetta, her given first name, approached him at his hotel following a performance in the city. With an audacity that belied her age, she persuaded Otis to grant her an audition. Another narrative paints a different scene, one where Otis, on the lookout for fresh talent, spotted the Creolettes, the group James was part of, performing at a Los Angeles nightclub. Seeking them out, Otis envisioned them recording his answer song to Hank Ballard's "Work With Me, Annie." Regardless of the version, Otis took the Creolettes under his wing, guiding them to a contract with Modern Records. As part of this transformation, the group shed its former identity, emerging anew as Peaches. In a symbolic renaming, Jamasetta became Etta James, a name bestowed upon her by Otis. This mentorship set the stage for James's musical odyssey. The year 1954 marked a pivotal moment in James's burgeoning career as she recorded and co-authored The Wallflower, a song later retitled from its original Roll With Me, Henry. The track, with its infectious rhythm, was released in early 1955 and swiftly ascended to the #1 spot on the Hot Rhythm and Blues Tracks chart. The success of The Wallflower not only propelled Peaches into the limelight, but also secured them a coveted opening spot on Little Richard's national tour. While basking in the glow of their newfound success, an unexpected twist awaited James on the horizon. Pop singer Georgia Gibbs recorded a version of The Wallflower and released it under the title Dance With Me, Henry. To James's chagrin, the rendition became a crossover hit, reaching the pinnacle of the Billboard Hot 100. This turn of events added a layer of complexity to James's journey, introducing her to the nuances of an industry where triumphs could be bittersweet. The post-Peaches era saw James navigating the challenges of a solo career. A notable R&B hit, Good Rockin' Daddy, provided a glimmer of success, but subsequent endeavors struggled to replicate its impact. As her contract with Modern Records came up for renewal in 1960, James made a pivotal decision that would shape the next phase of her career. Instead of recommitting to Modern, she signed with Chess Records, a move that would cement her status as one of the label's earliest stars. Around this time, the tendrils of fate wove another thread into James's story, her relationship with the singer Harvey Fuqua, founder of the doo-wop group The Moonglows. The musical journey that unfolded alongside Fuqua would become a significant chapter in James's life, influencing her artistic direction and personal narrative. Bobby Murray, a musician who would become a stalwart companion on James's musical journey for over 2 decades, reflected on her early years. According to Murray, James not only had her first hit single at the tender age of 15, but also went steady with the iconic B.B. King when she was just 16. James even believed that King's hit Sweet 16 was a testament to their relationship. The intertwining of musical destinies continued in 1955 when James, a 15-year-old prodigy, shared a bill with an aspiring 19-year-old singer named Elvis Presley at a large club just outside Memphis. Despite their age difference, James was struck by Presley's manners, leaving an impression that endured over the years. In the early 1960s, James delved into duets with Harvey Fuqua, recording for Argo Records, later renamed Cadet Records, a label established by Chess. Hits like If I Can't Have You and Spoonful marked this collaborative phase, showcasing the dynamic interplay between James and Fuqua. Her first solo hit, All I Could Do Was Cry, a doo-wop-styled rhythm and blues song, reached number 2 on the R&B charts. Leonard Chess, visionary co-founder of Chess Records, envisioned James as a classic ballad stylist capable of crossing over to the pop charts. In pursuit of this vision, James's music was adorned with violins and other string instruments. The year 1960 witnessed the release of James's debut album, At Last, a musical kaleidoscope featuring jazz standards, blues, doo-wop, and rhythm and blues. The album showcased the breadth of James's vocal prowess and included future classics like I Just Want to Make Love to You and A Sunday Kind of Love. Amidst this diverse musical landscape, James's rendition of At Last, a Glenn Miller tune, emerged as a standout track. While the record didn't achieve the commercial success anticipated, James's interpretation of At Last became an enduring classic, resonating through the decades. The exploration of gospel elements in her music marked a transformative phase for James in the early 1960s. Hits like Something's Got a Hold on Me and Stop the Wedding showcased her ability to infuse spiritual fervor into her performances. The year 1963 brought another major hit with Pushover, and a live album, Etta James Rocks the House, recorded at the New Era Club in Nashville, Tennessee, further solidified James's standing in the music industry. However, after a couple of years of minor hits, the mid-1960s witnessed a period of ebb in James's career. Following a hiatus, she re-entered the recording scene in 1967, unleashing a more gutsy R&B sound nurtured by recording sessions at the legendary Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. The fruit of these sessions was the comeback hit Tell Mama, co-written by Clarence Carter, which soared to number 10 on the R&B chart and number 23 on the pop chart. An album of the same name was released that year, featuring James's rendition of Otis Redding's Security. The B-side of Tell Mama featured I'd Rather Go Blind, a blues classic that James, in her autobiography, attributed to her friend Ellington Fugie Jordan, albeit for tax reasons giving songwriting credit to her partner at the time, Billy Foster. Following this resurgence, James found herself in high demand as a concert performer, although the zenith of her early to mid-1960s success remained elusive. Her records continued to chart in the R&B Top 40 in the early 1970s, with singles like Losers Weepers and I Found a Love. Despite ongoing success, the death of Leonard Chess in 1969 cast a shadow over James's career, underscoring the transient nature of industry dynamics. As the 1970s dawned, James embarked on a musical exploration that mirrored the zeitgeist of the era. Venturing into rock and funk, she released a self-titled album in 1973, produced by the acclaimed Gabriel Meckler, known for his collaborations with Steppenwolf and Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin in particular held James in high regard and had covered Tell Mama in concert. Despite critical acclaim, the 1973 album failed to produce major hits. Undeterred, James continued her musical journey with the release of Come a Little Closer in 1974. While this album, like its predecessor, received critical acclaim, it failed to generate the commercial success James had experienced in earlier years. The intricate dance between artistic innovation and commercial viability remained a central theme in James's evolving narrative. In 1975, James found herself in a different spotlight, opening for comedian Richard Pryor at the Shubert Theater in Los Angeles. This departure from the expected concert format reflected James's versatility as an artist, willing to embrace diverse stages and audiences. The years leading up to 1978 saw James's continued association with Chess Records, now under the ownership of All Platinum Records. She released one more album in 1976 titled Etta is Better Than Ever. Her 1978 album, Deep in the Night, marked a departure from her earlier sound, incorporating more rock-based music into her repertoire. This period also witnessed James's inclusion as the opening act for the Rolling Stones and her performance at the prestigious Montreux Jazz Festival. Now, it wasn't a secret that the music industry of the time was riddled with substance AB, and many artists found themselves succumbing to the pressures of fame and the fast-paced life that came with it. Etta was no exception. By the 1960s, Etta James started using heroin, and it soon became her substance of choice. But the first time that she tried heroin, James ended up overdosing because the heroin was white, unlike the brown heroin she typically saw in Los Angeles. She initially thought it was cocaine. James's habit became so intense that over the course of 1 week, she and some friends ended up snorting roughly 150 capsules of heroin themselves. James would also frequently suffer from severe withdrawal symptoms if she was unable to get any substances. In Rage to Survive, she wrote that, "If I hit a dry period, I'd get sick. Over the long course of my smack addiction, I was sick 80% of the time, sick or running the streets looking to cop. If I actually managed to get high the other 20% of the time, I'd be lucky." James ended up prioritizing her heroin habit above all else. Even her singing was just a means to an end. "I found work when I had to. I was essentially working for my habit," she admitted. But her habit definitely didn't go unnoticed, and James soon built up a reputation for her heroin addiction. Many people were worried about her and often remarked upon her youth when talking about the tragedy of her heroin addiction. Even comparisons made between her and Billie Holiday were centered around their substance use rather than their singing. Over time, her addiction became a crutch. The highs of the stage were often replaced by the lows of reality, and substances became an escape from the overwhelming pressures and traumas of her past. It was a way to numb the pain, to forget the hardships, and to momentarily live in a world devoid of troubles. The spiral was fast and devastating. There were missed shows, canceled tours, and studio recordings that never saw the light of day. Her relationship with her family became strained, and the once unbreakable bond with her son, Danto, began to show signs of wear. The mother, who once sang him lullabies, now grappled with demons that threatened to tear their relationship apart. Interestingly, the music industry, while being a catalyst for her descent into addiction, also provided moments of respite. The studio became a sanctuary, a place where Etta could momentarily forget her struggles and immerse herself in the world of melodies and lyrics. And it was here, amidst the cacophony of instruments and the hum of recording equipment, that Etta found moments of clarity. Her tracks from this period, while not as commercially successful as her earlier hits, were raw and visceral. They were a reflection of her struggles, her vulnerabilities, and her desperate yearning for redemption. Songs like I've Been Loving You Too Long and Feel Like Breaking Up Somebody's Home resonated with a depth of emotion that was palpable. Moreover, as the decade progressed, there were attempts at rehabilitation. Etta, with the support of her loved ones, tried to break free from the chains of addiction. There were periods of sobriety, moments where it seemed like the old Etta, the vibrant, vivacious singer with a zest for life, was making a comeback. During one of these moments of clarity, she reconnected with her son, Danto. Their bond, which had been strained due to her addiction, began to heal. Danto, who was coming into his own as a musician, became an anchor for Etta. Their shared love for music became a bridge, mending the gaps that had formed over the years. The latter part of the 1970s also saw Etta exploring new musical avenues. While her roots were firmly entrenched in blues and R&B, she began to dabble in jazz and rock. Collaborations with renowned artists of the era provided a fresh perspective, and Etta's sound began to evolve. However, the battle with addiction was far from over. Relapses were common, and with each setback, the road to recovery became even more arduous. But Etta, with her indomitable spirit, refused to give in. She fought not just for herself, but for her family, her fans, and her legacy. Intriguingly, as the 1980s approached, a new chapter awaited Etta, a chapter that would see her rise like a phoenix, reclaiming her place in the annals of music history and proving to the world that talent, coupled with resilience, can overcome the darkest of storms. The 1980s ushered in a new era for music, characterized by evolving genres, emerging icons, and technological advancements. But for Etta James, the decade marked a triumphant return, a rekindling of her passion, and a reclamation of her esteemed position in the music industry. As the new decade dawned, Etta's past struggles became a distant memory, overshadowed by a newfound zest for life and music. With her unique voice and unmatched talent, she began to navigate the changing musical landscape, carving a niche for herself amidst the synthesizers and electronic beats that dominated the era. Interestingly, her earlier battles had given her music a richer texture. Her voice, always soulful, now carried with it the weight of experience, the echoes of pain, and the promise of redemption. It was during this time that she released albums that, while not chart-topping, were critically acclaimed for their depth and authenticity. Albums like 7-Year Itch and Stickin' to My Guns showcased a mature Etta, an artist who had evolved but had retained the essence of her artistry. One of the significant milestones of the 1980s for Etta was her collaboration with renowned musicians and producers. These collaborations not only expanded her musical horizons, but also introduced her to a newer, younger audience. The infusion of fresh perspectives rejuvenated her sound, and the fusion of the old with the newly created tracks that were both nostalgic and contemporary. Moreover, during this period, Etta began to receive recognition not just for her current work, but also for her contributions over the decades. Awards and honors started pouring in, celebrating her legacy and acknowledging her indelible mark on the world of music. It was a time of celebration, of looking back at a journey marked by highs and lows, triumphs and challenges. One poignant moment during this decade was when Etta was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1993. This honor, a testament to her enduring influence, was a validation of her talent and her resilience. The induction ceremony saw her perform some of her most iconic tracks, evoking nostalgia and earning her a standing ovation from the esteemed audience. On top of that, the 1980s also saw a deeper exploration of her roots. Etta returned to gospel music, the genre that had nurtured her during her formative years. Albums like The Gospel Soul of Etta James bore testimony to her versatility and her deep-seated connection with spiritual music. Additionally, while the professional accolades were pouring in, Etta's personal life also witnessed moments of joy and reconciliation. Her relationship with her children, especially Danto, solidified, with the two often collaborating on musical projects. The bond once strained due to her struggles was now stronger than ever, with both mother and son drawing strength from each other. It's worth noting that while the 1980s marked a resurgence in Etta's career, it also saw her mentor and guide younger artists. Her story, marked by both success and struggle, served as an inspiration. Etta became a beacon of hope, a living testament to the fact that with determination and passion, one could overcome the most significant challenges. Many budding artists looked up to her, seeking guidance, drawing inspiration, and hoping to emulate her success. By the end of the 1980s, Etta had not only reclaimed her position in the music industry, but had also solidified her legacy as one of the most influential artists of her time. From chart-topping hits in the 1950s to soulful tracks in the 1980s, her journey was a testament to her talent, resilience, and undying passion for music. But despite all she had accomplished, Etta's health would soon begin to decline. In January 2010, Etta James found herself in the confines of a hospital room, battling an infection caused by MRSA, a bacterium known for its resistance to many antibiotics. The medical ordeal unfolded publicly, and during this challenging time, her son Danto made a poignant revelation. His mother had been grappling with a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease since 2008, a revelation that added another layer of complexity to her health struggles. The narrative of Etta James's health took another somber turn in early 2011 when she received a diagnosis that cast a dark shadow over her future: leukemia. The gravity of the illness became apparent as it progressed to a terminal stage. In the face of these profound challenges, her husband, Artis Mills, assumed the role of sole conservator of the James estate, shouldering the responsibility for overseeing her medical care. On January 20th, 2012, Etta James passed on. The timing of her passing, occurring merely 3 days after the death of Johnny Otis, the man who was instrumental in discovering her talent in the 1950s, added a poignant layer to the interconnected stories of these two influential figures. The intertwined threads of fate continued to weave an intricate tapestry when, 36 days post her demise, her sideman Red Holloway also bid farewell to the world. The final chapter of Etta James's earthly journey concluded with a funeral that reflected the magnitude of her impact on the world of music. The Reverend Al Sharpton presided over the solemn proceedings, which unfolded at the Greater Bethany Community Church in Gardena, California, 8 days after her passing. Musical tributes, resonating with heartfelt emotion, were offered by none other than the legendary Stevie Wonder and the vocally gifted Christina Aguilera. Etta James was a force of nature, a woman who lived her life with unapologetic intensity. The trials she faced, from battling societal prejudices to navigating the intricacies of the music industry, only served to fortify her spirit. Addiction, a formidable adversary, did not define her. Instead, she emerged victorious, showcasing a strength that mirrored the power of her vocals. Her story becomes a mosaic of resilience, a narrative that unfolds not just on the stage, but in the recesses of personal struggles. The dichotomy of the public persona and the private battles paints a fuller picture of the woman behind the music. Etta James, the artist, became a symbol of triumph over adversity, a beacon of hope for those navigating their own tumultuous journeys. The evolution of her musical style mirrored the dynamism of her character. From the soul-stirring gospel roots of her early years, James seamlessly transitioned into the realms of rhythm and blues, jazz and rock. Her ability to adapt, innovate, and infuse each note with raw emotion endeared her to audiences across genres. The eclectic nature of her repertoire reflected not only her versatility as an artist, but also her unwavering commitment to authenticity. As the societal landscape shifted around her, Etta James stood as a witness to change. The Civil Rights Movement, a defining chapter in American history, found resonance in her music. Her voice became a rallying cry, an anthem for those yearning for equality and justice. In a time when the world was in flux, her art became a reflection of the collective aspirations and struggles of a generation. The 1950s and 60s were a crucible for artists like Etta James, where the boundaries of race and gender were formidable obstacles to navigate. Yet, her voice transcended these limitations, echoing through the corridors of time. With songs that resonated with the pulse of societal change, she became a voice for the voiceless, a torchbearer for the marginalized. Etta James's impact extended beyond the confines of the recording studio and concert halls. She became a cultural icon, a symbol of defiance and resilience. Her unapologetic existence challenged societal norms, paving the way for future generations of artists to break free from the constraints imposed by a rigid establishment. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.